Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Does anybody want to make a motion to open the meeting? And I guess Matt can get started with filming us now as well.
Motion to open?
Any second?
Second.
All right, we'll do roll call and we'll do the circle again. So we'll start with Laura and go in a circle.
Hi. Sneeze.
Rachel,
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Okay, I say aye. Michael?
Yes.
Okay, and that leaves Janet. Thanks for joining us, Janet.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye or aye, yeah.
Okay, we're officially started, and as I mentioned, we're going to try to go fast because we've got a big agenda here and see what we can get through tonight. So, review of minutes is first up, and Rachel had sent a draft of the September 23rd minutes. If anybody hasn't seen them yet, they can take a moment now to find them on their email, or has everybody had a chance to look at them?
I'm looking at it now.
Okay, we'll just give a breather here while you take a look at it. And, yeah, you were there, so obviously you should look at it. That's great. All right, so while Janet's finishing looking, does anybody have any proposed edits to the minutes?
I made a couple of, I had does twice and I forgot the period at one point, but
That's good, okay. Any other edits from people who were present at the meeting?
I think I either sent Rachel edits or just said they were fine, one or the other. They look good. I know they look good.
All right. Janet, are you all set now?
Just about.
Okay.
Sorry, I got stuck on the Facebook page, but so much there.
Yeah, no, take your time. That was a big paragraph.
Yeah, Stoughton Day, which I didn't end up going to. I'm okay, pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve minutes?
Any
of
second?
September 23rd?
Yes,
September
23rd.
23rd?
Yeah.
You want to second that? Hi,
I'll
Ayesha.
second it.
Welcome to the meeting. We just reviewed the minutes. Did you have any comments on the minutes? We were just talking about the minutes, Ayesha. Do you have any comments on the minutes of September 23rd?
Can I comment later, please?
Well, you know what? Should we table that and then come back to it in a little bit, and Ayesha can take a look at the minutes which Rachel had sent in an email? Would that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just table that, put her on hold, because we want Ayesha, who was absolutely present for the last meeting, to be able to look at the minutes and make sure she's comfortable with them. So we will return to that, and please don't let me forget. All right. I'm going to launch into MAPC update, and Rachel, who's been the liaison and at those meetings, can join in, obviously, to add to that. So we've had 2 meetings now on virtual meetings with Francelis of MAPC, and somebody else from MAPC joined us at the last meeting too. And then the appointed person from the town has been Bill Roth, and those have been actually really interesting and enjoyable. I will also say they have a particular specific program that they go through for these meetings, so we're sort of following their program along those lines. And have been, I think there was a forwarded everybody, perhaps Sunday, one of these little presentations of sort of, I would say, some kind of initial PowerPoint slides that MAPC has put together with regard to our plan, which I thought everybody can take a look at that at any time they want to. So I think we're still, sort of morphing into the next topic that we're still working on, the climate audit tool, which only have about...
we had a couple more on MAPC.
Yes, and I'm sort of smushing that and the next subject together, but go ahead and stop me there.
Oh, you have that. I was just going to say Francella says that she may be in town on 11/15. So that's 2 weeks from, no, 1 week, 2 Fridays from now.
Yes, yes.
This Friday, next Friday.
Yep.
Because there's going to be like a Stoughton diversity multicultural night at the Gibbons Elementary. So if we want to meet her in person, yeah. So yay, that's my kid's school. And so she's going to be there. She wanted to be in person, so we may meet in person on the 15th. And I assume anyone is welcome to join and meet her.
Right, and just to clarify, that would just be a meet and greet. Obviously, we're not deliberating about anything, and probably only one of us will show up at a time. I will try to make time to, if it's an evening event, to show up and say hello and meet you in person. She's actually doing a great job, and what I love is, you know, quite frankly, most of us are volunteers, and it's hard to sort of always do the follow through. She did a great job of sending a follow up email of, these are the 3 things you said you do. These are the 2 things you're going to do. And that's just like, that is so organized. So she's going to keep us organized, and she's going to keep us moving along. Greatly appreciate it. And it's also been a pleasure working with Bill. I think he's bringing a lot to the table, and we're very happy to have him on the team. So the climate audit tool, I did do my homework, and I have sent out the following outstanding 3 questions that had to be answered by various town officials, and are gathering those answers. And
Did Laura have a question about what we were just talking about?
I'm sorry, Laura.
Sorry.
Question.
No, that's okay. I was
Oh,
just,
okay.
thank you, Janet. I was just looking at the phase 1 timeline in the slide deck that they sent.
Yeah.
And I just want to pressure test some of the timelines. So it's shocking to me that we're already in November. So
Yeah.
just knowing that we're past October and into November for some of these things, just wanting us to be realistic and kind of pressure testing when some of these things are planned to be done. So is this phase 1 timeline things that are already in process, and we can maybe do, like, I don't know, a check mark of things that we've already done? So if things were actually done in October, it would be nice to check that off. Or are these things that we're proposing, and originally we were going to start in September and then move through, but we've, you know, there's a lag time or something like that. So how accurate are these timelines, or how realistic are the timelines?
So we have done the stakeholder mapping,
Mm-hmm.
and Francelis is conducting the stakeholder interviews now, and there are
Okay.
some people who she couldn't get in contact with, and so I think Molly and I and Bill Roth all volunteered to take on some of the people and just like reassure them, no, Francelis is a real person. This is authorized by the town.
Mhm.
It's okay. This isn't spam. She's not going to get your information. Don't worry.
Right.
And Molly and I wanted to bring the list of people to this group and see if anyone knows anyone on it and can continue on with the reassurance. The engagement strategy development we haven't done yet. The climate equity training, I believe, is going to take place in December,
Yes.
and that is part of the planning. Existing conditions assessment, I think that's been ongoing, and the engagement evaluation protocol, we haven't really had an event yet to do, but I think we are in planning. So actually, even though it seems like we're really, I can't believe it's November, we actually are on good track.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
And where we're not, I think
Yeah.
keeping this updated if other people are going to see it, just because we don't want to look like we're
Yeah.
lagging behind. Like if we know that these things are actually going to happen in December or January, I think we should be able to push that forward. But that's really good to know, Rachel.
And put check marks on it.
Yeah, I think that would be really nice to say, like, okay, these things are actually done in months that have already passed.
Michael,
Yeah,
question?
just a quick question. Rachel, did you say that the stakeholder mapping is complete?
We have, yes. Well, it's not. Yeah, the mapping is complete, I think. The interviews are not.
So, yeah, let me just sort of break that down. We were trying to come up with a very broad stakeholder list. Some of it had a little bit incomplete information. Some of it, probably one could always add more to it if people, dig more into it. As far as a universal stakeholder list, what Francelis and MAPC did is they kind of picked a subset of that, which mostly is town officials, but it's also a few organizations as well. And some of them, she is having a hard time getting in a hold of people or to respond, some of whom I followed up with. But the other two people, and maybe somebody here's got an entree. One is the Portuguese Club, and the other one is, SDIO, Stoughton Diversity and Inclusion Organization. And again, we have the email for them, but there's no response coming. And it's almost like if I knew a person's name or somebody to get me in there. I have tried one person who I know is involved, and I'm not sure whether she can get me in. So there's a couple, again, Francella's narrowed it down to a smaller subset. And that's what she wants to work with. And the first step, if you can follow what the slides are saying, is kind of a climate equity engagement session with this smaller subset. And it's about climate equity, it's about, inclusion, and it's about, things of that nature. So I think that's where we are. And again, I think that session is planned for maybe December 20th, which is a Friday, which will be fine. I think it's going to be hard, honestly, in the sense of it's during the workday. And some of these people who are it's one thing for town officials to be able to set aside that 2 hours. It's another thing if you're a volunteer on so and such group. So we'll see how they go. I think Conservation Commission is on there too. Michael, by the way, I think that they're on the list. I don't know if Jerry's gotten the email and responded or not, but she sort of told us the places where she was running into dead ends. So we're trying to get responses and trying to. And I think, quite frankly, even should people feel like they're not actually quite interested in this or specifically interested in the climate equity training, it's really about us trying to not sort of cherry pick, people that are already interested, but just a cross-section of the community and community organizations. But I think it really is just like step one.
So who, for example, would you be inviting to a meeting on racial equity, diversity, et cetera?
I think it's a number of town officials. I can give you I actually wish I had the subset of the list, and maybe Rachel could cut and paste it. Remember how either today, yeah, because Francella's had that subset of the list with names. I mean, it included the planning board. It included I know, but it's sort of like people who might have a role in how this plan gets shaped. And I will tell you that it is clearly baked into the MAPC process to, as they say, look at it through an equitable lens. So that's why they want to make sure, that this is part of the discussion. So I think probably we could share what Red Tellis had sent to us with a smaller subset of the stakeholder list.
I guess my question is, are there going to be people who are representative of those groups that need to be included to be diverse, inclusionary, and equitable?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the hope would.
A bunch of town officials who look like
We
us.
are everyone on this committee is invited, I believe. And then we have, so just looking through it, so it is a bunch of municipal staff people, town officials, the planning board, the select board, Dr. Beta, the superintendent, us, the energy and sustainability committee, the conservation committee chair, the open space committee's chair, disability commission's chair, and the Stoughton Cultural Council.
And was the Council on Aging included, or did I? No.
I don't.
Okay.
I know Teresa Tapper is mentioned as a person, and I know she worked for Council on Aging, but I don't see the Council of Aging listed in the people to invite to it. Oh wait, no. Janice Bruce is invited.
Yes, and so she's the council, and then again.
To the Public Health Association.
Okay, but the other people again. Yes. Is that a great cross section of everybody in town? No, but I'm kind of following MAPC's lead. I mean, obviously, if we got SDIO, Stoughton Diversity Inclusion Organization, that should help with that. If there's any particular organization, and the Portuguese Club would obviously help with people who are Portuguese. I don't know if there's any other club. It's not too late. If you could think of any other specific community organizations or groups that should be included, I'd be happy to say to friends, it's certainly not too late to say, hey, let's reach out to these places as well, these people as well. So it's
I
not,
think some of the, yeah, oh, sorry. I think some of the people who we would be planning on, who we might be planning on inviting are people who, Francella's sent us the list. I think everyone would be on the list of people we plan to have interviews with. So, and maybe some of those people would be also good at this. I don't know how large you wanted it to be.
right. Well, I also, don't, again, outside of town officials, I don't know how many people are going to come anyways. But I think the point is, quite frankly, the town officials and being the people who might end up having a lot of input or carry forward with this plan, it's sort of just to have the discussion with them about, okay, if we're going to have a plan that deals with emergency response to X, Y, and Z, of course, we want to make sure that this cuts across, socioeconomic lines and where do people live lines and renters as well as homeowners. So whatever the conversation is, I think it's really sort of prepping those people to make sure that they are, thinking of the whole community. And you're right, it would be great if the actual turnout is itself very diverse. I will say if the Sustainability Committee certainly is a diverse committee, maybe that would be helpful. But I'm not sure we're going to absolutely check off all the boxes in the best way. But that's just the reality of it, and I, open to any other suggestions. If people say, "Hey, I know this organization in town, and it's really diverse. Why don't we ask them too?" I would love to give that information to Francellis and propose that. So we're definitely open to suggestions. If anybody thinks of anything, send me an email, and we'll pursue it as well, because we do want to be diverse as well. All right. So again, and it's actually a pleasure meeting with MAPC. It's been kind of fun. So I'm looking forward to our bi-weekly meetings and certainly looking forward to we are hoping it's going to be an in-person thing in December, or probably, quite frankly, it's going to be hybrid like this, but that would still be nice. That's tentatively, I think, December 20th, which is the Friday before the holidays. We'll see how that goes. All right. Any other questions about what's going on with MAPC? All right, interim recommendations, implementation. So implementation is key. The most significant development is that, two things actually. I'll start with a small one. So one of our recommendations, again, the select board unanimously adopted them, was that people be offered the alternative, town meeting members, that the town warrant and also the annual report, you could opt in and you just get it electronically, save all that paper and mailing costs. So that, actually, I'm getting confused with two issues. Anyway, so that was one of the discussions we had with Tom Coulter. We went through all the interim recommendations, and I think the takeaway was, he's certainly open to any type of messaging that we could, and I think we sort of need to develop our own messaging plan, such as action steps messaging for the citizens and for the residents. So in other words, we don't need to wait till the plan gets drafted a year from now to say, you should consider doing this at your house. You should consider that. You should look into composting. You should look into that, whatever. I feel like if anybody wants to come up with, it's almost like a PR program, and it's not about forcing anything down anybody's throats. It's just about promoting things that people might want to do because they want to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And of course, if anybody wants to come up with a proposal, or if a couple people want to come up with a proposal together, and then I feel like we would sort of write up the promo, and then we could send it to the town, to Tom Coulter. And by the way, he has not yet hired his communications person, who was approved in the spring, so that person's not even hired yet. But I feel like that would be the person, hopefully would be the point person. So whether it's something that we put up on, the DPW sign, the little TVs that are in every town building, the town crier, he will even put things on his Facebook page. Tom Coulter
so
said.
We don't actually have to have a Facebook page after all that, because he will post it.
Or we could talk about that when we get to the social media, but in any event, he did say he would post our stuff. So I think we have to have a coherent messaging, branding, and also schedule of what types of things, I'm not sure, I guess my thought was, rather than giving people 10 things to do, we would take a month or 2 months or 3 months and say, consider, getting a heat pump, consider doing this. Take a look at this incentive and rebate if you change out X versus Y appliance. In any event, if anybody wants to just say, hey, I'm interested in maybe coming up with a plan of messaging and encouraging action steps, and then bring it to us in a couple of weeks, please step forward at any point in time. And then I also thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could get like a high school student who's artistic to help us make it into like like a web page look or a brochure look, so that when it flashes on, of course, you can have our caption on it, our wonderful logo that Luke created for us. But it might be great to have somebody with some artistry in putting these things together. I mean, even like the sustainability committee, we had somebody who did a great job on our flyers when we were having events, and it's really takes some work. But people who have an artistic eye, whether it's a member of our committee, or whether somebody, I could always ask the recycling club to see if there's anybody there who would want to like partner with us on it, and say, this is our messaging for this month. Do you want to, create it into a flyer look? And then we could approve it, and then, anyways, so I would love to have it be artistic and eye-catching and as well. Thoughts about that?
I think it's nice if we do it, but I think it's even nicer if some high school students get involved. They can put that on their college resume or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Some credit, especially if they're going to go into communications or
Good point.
something to do with the environment or whatever it is, just to get it out there early, so they have all that stuff to show the schools, early on. So.
You say you want a flyer, does that mean something that's going to be printed?
I don't really mean a printed flyer. I mean something that looks like a flyer that we would, give to the town or the communications person to
Like a
have them put it.
one sheet.
Yeah, like a one-sheet web page, again, with a design. Everything should have our logo on it. And, eye-catching, colorful, or whatever it may be, not necessarily artistic like somebody who's going to, I don't know, if somebody wants to draw something, that's great, but maybe even just, cobble something together with all the resources that are out there on the web to make something that, is it's about marketing, quite frankly. This is marketing. These are ideas. Many people are open to them. Many people, like anything else, you sort of need to see it suggested a few times. And you also need to be pointed in the right direction. And James has a comment.
Molly, Tom did fill that position. The gal started today. So perhaps I can assist you, or there can be some outreach to her tomorrow and a request for assistance.
That's great. So what is her name?
I don't know her name. But I know she started today.
Okay, that's great. And if you, connect us, that would be terrific. And because I think they could be the conduit for helping getting the message out. So again, I think this is a matter about branding, promotion, marketing, none of which are my forte. So the thoughts of other people on the committee. But if you agree, I'd be happy to reach out to the high school recycling club and or the art teacher and see if anybody says, hey, we'd like to jump on board and help you with this. And I don't know, maybe there's somebody who's in the business club who likes to do marketing. So anyway, that would be helpful to get that out there. So the other major memory of our discussion with Tom Coulter, then I'll have Rachel fill in, is when we talked about the things that related to composting and recycling, we got into a really meaningful discussion about, like, we are hitting a brick wall as a state with respect to there is no place to put our solid waste. They're going to be, like he said, there's going to have to be really dramatic changes of what we do with solid waste in this town. They're going to be very, very much more expensive. They're going to be talking about railing it off to Ohio, which is like really horrible. The entire eastern seaboard has so much waste. We can't manage that. We can't figure out that we have to reduce that. And we're like going to now destroy Ohio, which should be two things. Well, they have lots of cities here, by the way. That's my home state. Farmland and trees is what it should be instead of a bunch of landfills. So in any event, he was really strong on that. I did not get anything specific about, yes, we're going to put up recycling bins, so I'm just going to keep following up with that with DPW. I mean, somebody has to price them out and figure out how many would it be if we get recycling bins. I'm sure that's a process, but I'm just going to continue to communicate with DPW about that. So Rachel, what are your memories of other things we talked about with the interim recommendations with Tom?
If you hear a crying baby in the background,
Sure.
sorry.
We're used to it, Rachel. We're used to it.
No.
Yeah.
trying to think through. It was like a very positive discussion, very open. Thinking about, I mean, like you did touch on one major points, and one of the things we were just talking about is how not doing, not changing the trash is going to be far more expensive. Not making the climate resilience changes is going to be far more expensive for the town. So that's something he's very aware of. We know there will be resistance, but also we have to think in the long term, not in the short term.
Right.
I think that goes on. I really think that you hit most of the major points on that. So it was just a very positive discussion. Nice to talk to a town official who was so engaged on this topic and really interested in what we were saying and had a lot to add in, as well as all the discussions Bill Roth had been. So
yes,
our town has some great people working for it.
The other issue on the implementation, which we both had a positive discussion with Tom Coulter about, was about having Mass Save have a presence at town meetings, including the town meeting, or town events, I should say. And he was fine with that. And he also said, I'm just saying this so we follow through, he also said we should put on our own webpage just a little blurb about Mass Save and with some links to how to contact Mass Save. So maybe that's 2 or 3 sentences if anybody wants to propose drafting that up and adding it to our webpage, because that really is a critical first step for people who own their own homes, to sort of take a look at what's good and what needs to be fixed in their house as far as reducing their emissions. And so following up with that, I then reached out to Bob Mullen, who is the town moderator, about, we have town meeting in 2 weeks, about having Mass Save there, which I haven't yet called Mass Save, but they seem to be willing to go anywhere. And I got some resistance from Bob. So he said, well, if we do this, and where do we draw the line? And he had to speak to town council. So I replied to Bob and I said, I'm happy to be on the phone with town council. I don't think this is just, quote, any vendor. This is a tax-supported program, a taxpayer-supported program. And you have a town meeting that has voted that they want to take action on climate change. So we'll see where that discussion goes. It was very polite. And that's fine if he wants to check with town council, but I would love to have the door open on that. And again, it's just going to be somebody tabling there. People walk by and want to stop by and pick up a brochure and say, hey, what is it that you guys do? They're welcome to do that. And if they don't want to, they don't want to. So that's where that ends up.
Sorry, Molly, can you take a step back on that? I feel like I missed something. What did you talk to Bob Mullen about, and what was he pushing back on?
Having Mass Save table at town meeting. So just literally, there are tables out there, right, where people present information about their articles, but you would have Mass Save, and a representative from Mass Save be there with their information, with their ability to take down somebody's name who might want to actually schedule a visit to their house to do the, energy audit and, get some information about, how they can do things to whatever. So that's what Bob said he's having a problem with.
And his pushback was based on what?
Well, then where do you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line on what? People wanting to have information on a table?
I don't know. I tried to explain to him, select board has approved it.
Or was he trying to say that not the having information, but like maybe having information by someone who's not attending town meeting or having something? I mean, the line is pretty obvious because it's a state program.
That's what I try to convey to him.
Like that is a clear line, and that, like, I know with the library trustees, we've had to do a similar, we have to draw a line somewhere for like who can host an event, and it is actually very easy to make a clear line.
Hosting an event versus having a table with information that they're not forcing people to engage with them, right? This is people walking by and asking for information. I'd just be curious to understand, like, is this?
You know what? I'll send around the email, so Laura, so you can see the email.
I'd also like to see it, so.
All right, just don't comment to each other if I send around the email, just as an FYI.
Oh,
Okay.
Right.
No, I'm just curious what the reasoning behind that is.
Okay, so that's the reasoning. All right, so again, I think it's all about follow-up with the interim recommendations, so don't want it to fall off the radar screen.
I actually had a question about that too, Molly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
But so, we've had conversations going way back with Dr. Baeta and seem to get, alignment and philosophical support of certain things happening like within the high school. And now, we've heard what you were just saying about your conversation with the town manager. Is the plan for these, so where we're getting support on these concepts or, realizing that, yes, composting is something that is a good recommendation, that, again, people can decide whether or not they do it, but it's almost like a public service announcement, right? Where you can kind of go out and share some of these things. People can take it or leave it. Are we reliant on the support of town manager? I mean, it's great because he supports it. Like, what's the line between us just talking about this and us doing just moving forward with some of these things? Is there a line between that, or is this just something that we can start putting our recommendations out? I know the high school is a little bit different because within the high school that requires, agreement or, willingness to do something like that within the high school. But with these recommendations, are we actually waiting to make them, or are we just going to start moving ahead through some of the communication and messaging that you mentioned earlier?
Well, certainly I did send the recommendations to Dr. Baeta and I believe to Julie Miller as well. I think just the honesty, human nature of people being so busy and distracted and inertia, I think it's perfectly appropriate to do some follow-up. I mean, the follow-up doesn't mean that we're going to have 14 follow-up meetings unless they want to keep having us keep going forward. But so whether that's another appearance before the school committee, further discussions with Dr. Baeta, there have been occasional, I think we need to bring up again, like communications between Black Earth Compost and the director of operations at the school system. And again, that's switched over. Joyce is gone. Dennis Rigo is there now. I don't think there's any reason not to, continue to make those proposals and discussions. I
guess my question is, do we need approval from town manager to start communicating on how straightforward and simple composting is, just as an example? Do we need, are there things that we could be doing already that we've been, spending time getting consensus and getting support, but now we have that and we can kind of move forward with some of these recommendations? Like I said before, I think the school is different. I think we need a different kind of approval there, but just wondering about the conversion from conversation to action, and is there something we're waiting for, or is this really something that's up to us now to just start communicating? And I'm not trying to be, sassy by asking that question. I'm just genuinely wondering, how much of this is up to us to just move forward with and start communicating as more of a public service versus needing to get approval from the select board or the town manager or the school superintendent.
Can she come in for a good night out?
Yes. Sorry. I was about to say something and then the door opened.
That's okay.
But also, my impression was Tom Coulter. Bye. Bye, my love. So Tom, my impression of what we said from Tom Coulter is we could just send him something to be posted.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely, on the communications,
We don't
yes.
need Tom Coulter to
Yes.
approve, at least from anything related to our interim recommendations.
Yes.
Okay.
Not in the town approval for that.
But-
The town meeting part, we do need town moderator to sign off on something.
I don't know
So
if we
that's
do or
good.
not, but he thinks he's the gatekeeper,
The
so,
town moderator thinks we need his approval,
yeah.
so. But I think anything, any messaging we start, any posts we want to make, anything we want to start. I want to start making the DPW announcements about the anti-idling thing. I think we can just start making them, and maybe we need to approve them, I think, at the next meeting, but we could send them out.
Got it.
Michael
That's
had
super
some
helpful.
comments. Michael?
Yeah.
do you-
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, select boards approve these, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The select board has approved them, that's basically the green light. I mean, they don't expect us to just sit on them now, right? I think that's your green light for, communicating them in, basically any way, shape, and form, we can.
And I would just say, the caveat to me, and the one example which I'll talk about is, with Tom and whoever else knowing about it, like copying them on the emails and whatever, and also not misrepresent, not overstating like, oh, well, so-and-so said you're going to go do X, Y, and Z, and you need to do it in the next 30 days. Of course, we're going to say, oh, here's our interim recommendation. For example, the one thing that has a dollar sign attached to it, for example, and let me get back to the composting in the schools. I forgot to mention that, but is buying those recycling cans. Clearly, somebody's going to have to, scope it, whatever. Tom Coulter didn't absolutely sign off on that. However, I'll probably take the liberty of sending an email to DPW and copying Tom and say, these are our recommendations. This was discussed. I was wondering if you might have, or might engage in taking a look at these and pricing them out, and then take it to the next step. And then maybe I don't hear back, which means they're like, you know what, not this year, or we can't, whatever. I just feel like I feel like if we're respectful about the parameters and boundaries, nobody's going to be mad at us for like continuing to suggest. But I'm not going to, call up Paul Jaffoon and say, you're going to go buy those things in the next 30 days, obviously, right?
No.
So, and then when it's the messaging, he's completely open to it. And I just actually wanted to circle back because the other issues are separately, trying to push or remind them or suggest them again to the school committee, is that Tom said with respect to the issue of, composting and recycling. I said, why is it the town's been recycling for 20 years and the school doesn't? He did say, well, it's a fee program for a citizen, right? Citizens have to pay for it. But what he also said is, if they want to do it, they just put a line item in their budget and they could do it. So, I mean, yes, they have to budget ahead of time. It has to go through the budget procedure. But it's not like out of their, is it almost a $60 million budget now? They couldn't explore doing those two things because clearly they're paying somebody to take away their solid waste. It's going to be less solid waste if they do these other things as well.
Right.
So I feel happy to do whatever I can to bring that forward with Dr. Bayetta and with the school committee at whatever time we can do that. And it doesn't mean that we're going to make it, I'm not going to tell Dennis Rigo what to do. Of course I'm not, but I'm just going to say, again, that's the school thing. So whether it's a town official or whatever, it's not like I'm telling them what to do, but I'm telling them that these have been adopted. And I think these are the next steps. And are you taking these steps, James?
Thank you very much, Molly. Molly, while you were speaking about that, now is the time that budgets are being
Yep.
formed. And I think I could use your support, or if anything, if you spoke to Paul and our town engineer, to let them know that we do need to have a line item to purchase composting units. We need to have a revolving fund with which we can purchase composting units, and then the monies that we receive from composting units go back into the account. So this will come, this will continue. There's a problem right now with the budgeting, and we need to remediate that problem right now, so that we'll be able to purchase more composting units and sell them to folks in the town.
Okay. Tell us what to do. I mean, tell us what steps to take. You're the insider, we're the outsiders.
Well, just to call Paul and tell him that we need to have a revolving fund to buy composting units. And I'll run with the town engineer on that. I've been trying to get this through in my office, but it's easier said than done. So any support that you can give us in this board in order to move that effort forward would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. And can I say, so to the extent they have been purchased in the past, are town residents actually going and getting them and buying them from the town?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so you just need to keep doing it and keep promoting it, so that's great. So people are responding to the program, they're getting their composters, they're doing it, but you need to continue to do that. And at the same time, I could ask Paul about pricing out getting recycling bins, right?
We need to order more. We're gonna have to order more soon, but we need money to order more, and that's what we're
Okay.
having problems with. The new accountant is not, on board with the way we've been doing things in the past, and we need to establish a new revolving fund to buy composting units.
Okay, all right. Again, yeah, so, go ahead, Laura.
Well, I was just wanted to say thank you to you and Rachel for that information, because I think this is great progress, right? And as Michael was saying, these things have been endorsed by the select board. Like, there's nothing holding us back from making these recommendations or kind of promoting these as options to people. I think that's huge progress. And it's not about telling people what to do. I don't want you to think that that's what I was implying by saying, moving things to action. But I think that, these are good ideas, and for people that are wanting to understand how they can contribute, having this communication out there more readily and in a way that they can understand what the action is that they can take is kind of it's like a new development in what we can do. We can be more active in doing that with this endorsement. And I think that's really great.
Excellent. Before
Yeah,
go ahead.
Can I just say sorry?
Thanks,
I
no,
was just going to say sort of what Laura said, but or everyone else actually. But I think our purpose, I can see about the flyers on the table. I mean, he wants control of that. But I think we're here to educate, and definitely, I've learned a lot from you guys. So just finding ways to help get the environment better in Stoughton as well as everywhere else. So anything we can do that, I'm big on marketing because that was my career, but just, saying what's out there. I mean, there was a tiny thing on television I saw. I know we can't do it because it's very expensive, but they were taking diapers, and they were taking the, whatever you want to call it, that was in the diapers, and they were reusing it somehow and making it good for the environment. But that was expensive. But anything we find out about, that's feasible for the town, that's just a new thing. It's just we're out here to just make everyone involved and educate and just make it a better place to live. So, and like you all said, not force it on anybody. I like the composting.
yeah,
That sounds great. So
thank
I'm just
you.
reiterating. That's all I'm doing. So
That's why you're here, Janet. You're allowed to reiterate. Thank you. Thank you. Before I move on, any other comments about the interim recommendations? And again, that's just going to be an ongoing thing. It should be on the agenda. So we, talk about actually continuing to move forward on that. All right. So the Board of Health, I guess I probably didn't did I forward you? The Lawrence Perry responded to my sort of general question. I should do that. And I also meant to print it out and sort of read it to you. It was kind of a very complex answer, which explained the difference between the Board of Health and obviously the sort of VNA and the public health thing. So I'm gonna have to forward that to you. But he was not clear how he would be directly involved in anything to do with the Climate Action Plan Committee. But he was very nice, so I'll just forward that to you. I mean, so I'm still trying to, digest and figure out, what the intersection is. I think that's something where MAPC actually is going to come in and are going to kind of figure out whether it's, with climate resilience or whatever. But I did reach out to him, and I'll make myself a note to forward email.
Who's that, the chair of the?
So Lawrence Perry is he called the sanitation officer, James?
Oh.
Yeah, he's the town official.
Oh, okay, I see.
And he has an engineering, not a health background, I think you said. So but he does enforcement too of, Board of Health rules and regulations and stuff like that. All right. So high school recycling club, so we're going back to late September. Had a really good meeting with the high school recycling club, which has a lot of members, not all of whom actually stayed while I was speaking, but that's okay. So they actually, Rachel, I think I told you this, they want to take up the anti-idling campaign as their own campaign. So I've connected their teacher with the sustainability committee, which is doing that too. And they're still at the point where they're going to try to do fundraising to buy the signs, which only costs like $500 to get signs for all the schools. So the sustainability committee will work with them on that. I certainly told them what we're doing. What can we do to support them? Do they want to have, some suggestions? Do they want to have a, student-led forum on climate change? I said, I got PowerPoints I can send you that you can do with as you will or add to them. And I actually had met one of them and talked to her a very long time at Stoughton Day. So I feel like I've made a real connection there. And again, the numbers of the club are pretty good. This is not 5 kids. This was more like 20 kids, students. And a really, good teacher who's very supportive. And also, of course, I've given them the open, anytime you want to come to a meeting and also interact with us, let me know in advance. I'll put you on the agenda. We can have some discussion back and forth. So I probably should just keep suggesting that. And hopefully we will have a couple of students come someday who can sort of talk with us about what they're doing and about, their thoughts about climate change and what we can do. And certainly, when MAPC has engagement events, then absolutely we have a way to reach into the high school through the recycling club. So that's good. That's a good club. Any questions about the high school? All right. And the other thought too is, which I've never pursued, is whether somebody who's in honor society, if they have to do some kind of project or something, if somebody wants to do like an internship for us and be involved in anything, that would be another thing. Does I don't know, Rachel, do you maybe want to follow up and find out the advisors to the honor society national and see if there's anybody who wants to have any involvement in our work?
You're on mute.
Yeah.
You're on mute, Rachel. Yeah.
Yes, so yes, I can do that as former National Honor Society member myself. There's definitely a volunteer requirement, and I can absolutely find out who the contact is and message them.
Okay.
About that. And maybe this could be someone who wants to work on art, as you were saying before. That I think would be perfectly valuable as volunteer service because they'd be spending hours doing that. So
Right. And even, helping get the messaging, whatever, say if we have a message of the month or whatever it may be, even helping to promulgate that message through the high school community in ways like that. So that would be great. Anybody who wants to step forward, because I think that would be excellent to have that kind of relationship and involvement of a high school student. So which kind of turns to the next issue, social media. I did have a very quick conversation at Stoughton Day with Steve Cavey, who's the select board chair, who said that he was concerned about, and this was maybe off the top of his head, about a Facebook page where there's commentary back and forth and somebody controlling the commentary. And he said something about being concerned about open meeting law violations or people making those allegations or something. So I didn't know whether we wanted to, and maybe he's off point. Michael's got a response, or maybe I didn't analyze that, but because I'm just concerned about going there if it's going to cause a lot of problems, and maybe they're being overly cautious. But I don't know if we want to start off with perhaps a more, I don't know if the word is static Facebook page, but it can change every few weeks, and then people who are on Facebook can like it and message it and encourage people to go to it. Does that make sense, Michael, or not?
Sort of, yeah. I think I'm not sure what you mean by a static Facebook page.
Well, I mean something that,
The one that we had already discussed, the possibility of basically having it, I think Rachel had talked about having it discussion free, right?
Okay.
And we can at least start that way. That
Okay.
way it's simply a one-way, it's not the ideal.
Yeah.
But I think, Rachel's point, I think when we first talked about it, was that it's not even so much about us having a Facebook page for people to come to, as it gives us a page by which to gain access to other pages and post elsewhere,
Okay.
Stoughton News, enthusiasts, etc., as opposed to us doing it as individuals.
Okay.
So that's the push side.
Yeah.
Usually, the whole point of social media is to invite discussion, et cetera. But you'll see on Stoughton News even, which is tends to be a hotbed of controversy. But every now and then, the moderator there will just, I don't want any discussion on this. It's too hot of a subject.
Right.
So we can just make the whole thing one way. And in terms of static, it wouldn't be static. Basically, it's any time we come up with anything.
Yeah.
An article, you can post, links to articles. You
Yeah.
can post all of our records, things. You can even do it, as you talked before about, if you're going to do like a staggered approach to the recommendations.
Yeah.
For a month, every day for a month.
Yeah.
We put up something else about composting.
Yeah.
Another article, another recommendation, another
Okay.
tool, et cetera. But you can make it controversy free. I know Steve's concerned.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that we've become like a lightning rod for certain elements. People with different views on things, they'd be all over it. But you can make it
Okay.
basically just a one-way, and then still use it as a springboard to post in relatively innocuous, non-controversial
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
On,
Very careful
on the
about
other
what we would
pages.
post. Okay.
And that's all. I mean, because nobody's going to have the time to moderate. Not some page like that, which would draw, if it was going to be a dead page that nobody ever came to, but people will come to complain. So nobody's got the time to moderate. So I would suggest doing it just no discussion. It's simply, it's a billboard.
Yeah.
It's a changing.
I love it, yeah.
It's a changing billboard every
Yeah.
day, every week, whenever Rachel and whoever else, myself, you, whoever else wants to, just contribute, but not moderate.
Okay.
Because I definitely understand Steve's point. But I think that's one way around it to make. I mean, the thing of it is you make these pages what you want them to be.
Yep.
You're not bound by, by anything really, and you can
Okay.
make them as freewheeling or as closed or whatever.
All right. So Michael did a great job of describing that. I just want to go around and see if anybody has any comments, thoughts, and discussion, and then we want to put it to a vote. So I guess I'll start with Laura.
I think it makes sense.
Rachel?
I really liked the way Michael was describing content, and I think you can even do it in such a way that it automatically posts at a certain time, so you don't have to be hovering over it. And I think I think we can also use whatever we're generating. We can send it to Tom Coulter as well. We can we can ask Smack to put it up, or etc. So the content that we put up, we can use in multiple ways.
Okay. James?
We can start by following Massachusetts Department of Conservation, etc.
Sure. James, comments?
I just think that we should look into this and see how we would properly integrate this into our climate action plan, or maybe ask MAPC what they would advise and how to formulate some type of a social media effort.
So MAPC, Francelis did say that, and I think it's shown in the last notes, that she's not aware of many towns having it, like an active Facebook page. I think one of the ways that it sort of integrates into our climate action plan is to inform people we are having we are working on a climate action plan. Here's many of the elements of a standard climate action plan. And then when there are community engagement events totally open to the community, really we can promote it through this Facebook page. And when there's a draft report, we can promote it through the Facebook page. So again, it's actually just promoting, awareness and transparency of the planning process itself. We can have an introductory page that says we've been doing this work and MAPC is working with us and here's where we're at with it. But I didn't think that Francelis is really going to give us, step-by-step tools, although we can include that on our agendas from time to time, Rachel, once we get it launched. We could say, take a look at this, what do you think of this? Does this make sense? But I think since we are at the interim debt recommendation stage, it is okay to start promoting the action steps. That was part of the BOS resolution, is that everybody should be aware, we'd like to promote awareness of action steps that people can take now. Oh, Aisha, let's see if you have comments. We'll go down to Aisha and Janet, and then Michael has further comment. Aisha, any thoughts about the Facebook page?
No comments. I was actually going to toe the line of actually integrating it with SMAC, but that has already been said. So
Okay, yeah, to include SMAC too in the promotion. Janet, ideas?
Yeah. Well, I like it because it's like informing people, and it's not supposed to be a forum. I mean, if we have a forum, it would be an event, I would think, because we've had things like that, in the past, and probably other committees have as well. We're just looking to inform them what's going on. Maybe talk about climate change. You could talk about things going on in the world. I've seen some other climate diversity sites. I'm getting information from them. They're in other parts of the world. But it's just interesting to know what people are doing and what they can do locally is, and like we said, we're just suggesting and we're just informing and just trying to do what we are. We're a committee. We're here to do something. We're not here to just, lay low, but obviously not to force anything on anybody.
Great. Thanks.
Let them know how they can help, as an individual or as a group. That's pretty much it.
All right.
I like it.
Michael, anything further, or do you want to make a motion?
Just one more thing,
Yeah.
if it makes people even more comfortable, we can make it even more restrictive and not even links to anything other than we can use it strictly. This is a page for advancing our interim and ultimately long-term recommendations. Just stick to that in itself. And two things that does then too is, like I said, it does give us access to other pages. The town manager has 2,500 followers. We wouldn't be posting to his page, but I saw that 2 weeks ago he posted an article about composting on his page. So obviously he's amenable to things like that. He could then grab it and repost. There's 2,500. They're not all going to see it, but 1,500 probably will. There's 7,000 people on the Stoughton enthusiast page. That's a lot of people. They're not all going to see it, but maybe 4,000 will. That's pretty nice. And you keep it non-controversial. That's why I would say not even links to other stories. No doomsday stories, no.
Oh,
anything
come
like
on.
that.
I live for those doomsday
So do
stories.
I. And
No.
stick to, these are recommendations for people in Stoughton to do good things.
Can I just say, though, I think you're,
Way more persuasive.
could I
Get
just,
people feeling that they can do something because they can.
Right.
Like Reasons for Hope is a genuinely good strategy for climate resilience and building people's belief that they can do something, which they can. So as a personal preference, I don't like posting doomerism.
okay, so could I just say, though, I don't want to restrict to be able to using links, but I think we have to be extremely thoughtful and cautious and conservative about the links, because the link might just be to like a federal tax program. The link might be to something from, the mass government that shows if you turn in your appliances for this appliance, you get a $500 rebate, for example, your gas stove to your induction stove. So that kind of, like, for example, but you wouldn't want to link to like Extinction Rebellion or something like that, where people are just going to disagree vehemently or something.
Right.
So,
There's the kind of article that I would send to you guys. Like there's an article that I didn't actually end up sending, but it's like most states' composting plans haven't worked to reduce food waste, but Massachusetts has.
Oh.
So I was thinking like that could work as something.
You could build that right into our composting thing, yeah.
okay. Or that the people are doing this pumpkin thing in Evertown. Has anybody heard about that? I think it's about getting people to compost their pumpkins instead of like throwing them in the trash.
Catapults and things.
Yes, whatever it may be, but then they ultimately compost instead of let it rot in the trash in any event. So,
Oh, that is fun.
yes,
Yeah,
I'll
I did that one year and I grew 30 what I called volunteer pumpkins. They just exploded everywhere. It was great.
So we should actually try to plan that for next year. We could have that as an event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In November.
yeah, it would be
Pumpkin growing
fun and
contest
educational.
from your compost.
All right,
I like
so does our expert over here, Michael, want to make a motion?
Do we need one?
I just want to have, because this is something significant, that we're going to now create a Facebook page. I just want to have a motion and a roll call vote to make it clear. It doesn't have to be terribly detailed.
Move that the Climate Action Plan Committee creates a creates a Facebook page dedicated in large part to advancing our interim recommendations.
Okay. Any second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor, we'll do roll call, starting with Laura.
aye.
Rachel?
I
James?
Nay.
Okay, Molly votes aye. Ayesha?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Okay. All right, the motion carries. Oh, thank you. Michael gets to vote too, sorry. So that is one nay vote. And James, if there's any caveats you want to share with us about what you're,
No, I don't know. I just would think that we're getting off the subject of our mission to create the climate action plan by getting wrapped up with the Facebook page.
well, community engagement's part of a climate action plan. And I do think this is, you know, and if you read the plans, they talk about that at length. And I certainly, you're absolutely right that we always want to go back to what is our mission and how are we fulfilling our mission. And I certainly want to keep online. But the other point of a climate action plan is to actually have climate action take place. And given that we're in urgent need of climate action, like I say, we don't want it to sit around until, it's going to be December 2025 before we get a final plan. So if
I
people,
don't see this as distracting from the mission at all because this Facebook page will probably be used to generate content for the final town. And it is seeing what people are interested in, seeing what people engage with is really a valuable part of it. So I think of it as part of the outreach in the same way that the surveys were.
okay.
I think it's a form a negative feedback, and folks can speak up and try to disrupt the mission of this committee. I think it's an avenue for that. So I just don't.
Well, they're already
wanna
speaking up
come in
and,
and say that, you know, it's all a hoax. There's no such thing as global warming. The dinosaurs,
about it.
you know.
Yeah, and that's why we're turning off comments.
Folks that, you know, that aren't supporters of the mission of this committee, and I know a lot of folks aren't. I just know, and from interacting with people, and I just want to say that everyone is not going to be in agreement with what this commission wants to promote.
so,
Jim, there's not going to be any discussion on the pages. There's not going to be any feedback.
Mhm.
It's one direction.
Okay.
It's not like you and me where, you know, I get to comment on your music, which I enjoy tremendously. It's gonna be shut down for commentary, so, because otherwise I would agree with you. Because I know what will happen. We'd have 300 comments, you know, blasting us from every corner of the town. And we definitely don't want that. I would agree 1,000% with that. We're dispensing with that altogether. So at least I think on that score, I think at least we're safe.
yeah, I think it's like an extension of the fact that we have a brief web page. Like our web page is informational, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just another way
It's an
to
extension of
communicate. It's an extension of that. All right,
Well, that
so,
makes me feel, Michael, thank you. That, as long as there
Okay.
can't be any negative commentary,
There cannot.
sounds good.
okay. That being said,
Do you change your vote?
yeah, when people look at it,
I would do that.
you know, we can always, we can put it on our agenda. When people look at it, people have comments and say, oh, I think you should do it more this way than that way. Obviously, it's going to be a developing project, and we might have, you know, lively discussion as to what we want on it and what we don't want on it. So again, it's the discussion's not over, but we're definitely going to launch it. And I think, Rachel, you're going to be the individual who's actually going to launch it, right? Thank you.
Yeah, and I plan to have it so that the only way someone can message the page is by like directly messaging the page, like DM, so, or like sending a message, so nothing would show up that we don't approve. And I completely agree. We should not be distracting ourselves by engaging with the negative comments. We should be building something more positive. And I really liked what Michael was suggesting for it. Because I know we've talked this back and forth several times, and I really like that. So
Yeah, just one more comment to anybody administering, and we should have at least 2 administrators. I'd be happy to help on it.
Okay.
When people do message, and they will, don't engage with them in a back and forth on that either. Just
Okay.
ignore them. Because it's too, you know how easy it is to get caught up, but just
yeah.
don't even look at the messaging page, you know what I mean? Actually, you should, because people might have asking
Yeah.
us about an event or something, but otherwise,
Like honestly, people do it better than feeling ignored. People are, you can just send a brief acknowledgement and not engage with any of it. Like I've done this before for nonprofits. Like it's
you know what you're doing.
very
Okay.
in that.
All right, that's excellent, and we're glad we have a couple of experts who are going to take on this this task, and hopefully it will, raise our profile and get people interested and get people aware of things that are going on and what we can do. All right, so
James has a,
James wants to say something, I
sorry,
guess.
thank you.
Did you want me to change my vote or
No,
you want to change your vote.
have a motion on someone asked me to change my vote? I'd be willing to do that.
well, I think the record can reflect that you're comfortable with supporting it, provided that it's not a back and forth commentary. So I think
Thank
Rachel could put that in the minutes. So that's great.
No,
I
I mean, I think we should give him, if he's willing to walk back his word, the mean has not ended, he has every right to do that.
Oh,
He wanted
absolutely.
a
We agree.
justification
And I
as to
can
why.
say that it's on it being non-interactive or like without any.
Yeah, so when someone makes a decision out of an informed position, yeah, he has the right to do that. So now that he knows better, if he wants to walk back, then it's fine.
It is fine. Are you asking us to take the vote again officially? Because we could do that if you want us to. You don't have to read it. Right? You just. Do you want us to re-vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should do that.
All right.
So
You
that
could
way
just
he
say
gets the
you repeat your
opportunity to make
prior
his choice.
motion. Go ahead. We'll do it all over again.
When this both votes, then?
Thank you, Aisha.
All right. So Michael's going to restate the proposition again.
Motion to revisit the vote based on ensuing discussion, the previous motion being for the Climate Action Plan Committee to create a Facebook page in order to continue to convey our interim recommendations to the town.
Second.
All in favor? Starting with Laura. Roll call.
Aye.
Rachel.
Aye.
James.
Yay.
I vote yes. Aisha. Janet.
Aye.
Michael.
Yes, and thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for having a nice, clear vote. Thank you, Aisha, for stepping forward with that.
Thank you.
All right, I will just summarize Stoughton Day. Stoughton Day was a wonderful day. I really do give all credit to the town for putting that out. It is a great community day. There were lots of people there. I got to talk to a number of people, including one or more high school students, and I got probably maybe, I don't know if you noticed, Rachel, 15 or 20 more people filled out the survey.
Oh, yes, no, you said that I haven't analyzed the results.
Okay. But again, we continue to try to get everybody who hasn't filled out the survey, fill out the survey. So that was good, and always good to raise the profile as we can of both the Sustainability Committee and the Climate Action Plan Committee. So that's terrific. Other business that cannot be anticipated, I'm trying to think if there was anything that came up in the last several days that wasn't on the agenda. Nothing comes to mind. I think we've covered everything. I want to just clarify about the next meeting date, my bad. All right, November 18th is town meeting day, so we are not meeting on November 18th. Can I ask people if Monday, November 25th would work? Since we have such a great show tonight of members, how many people think they could meet on Monday, November 25th? That is 3 days before Thanksgiving.
Yay.
Okay, so Janet says yes.
I'm fine.
Michael?
Yes.
Okay, so I will shift a little bit, and we'll make Monday, November 25th the next CAP meeting. And between that time, we will obviously have another MAPC meeting and see how that's moving along quickly. And I don't see anybody here for public comments. I think anybody who came in joined in. So looks like we have nothing else to cover. We've set our next meeting for November 25th. And does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call starting
Aye.
with Laura.
Aisha.
Aye.
Rachel?
I
James, James said yes? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I say yes. Ayesha said yes to adjourning?
Mhm.
I think she did. And Janet?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. And Janet?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. This is a fabulous turnout. Great to see all my wonderful friends on screen. It makes me
Great
very,
to see you, Laura.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes this good to
You
see.
guys too. Sorry I've been so not here.
It's okay.
Understood.
I'm just glad I saw everyone today.
Yes, it is. It does a great feeling to be together, and hopefully some of us will be together in person over the next few weeks. So I will try to get a meeting space for the 25th. I don't know if anybody else can anybody else predict at this point in time whether they want to meet in person, or is it just too soon to tell?
it is so much easier for me and easier for
Sure.
our spouse if we meet virtually.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Same
get-
here, because I'll be out of town, but I'll be able to join the meeting.
Okay, Ayesha, all right, thanks. Okay, all right, we'll get that figured out. I know Michael loves meeting with me and, driving out on a cold November night and meeting in
I
person with
do, I
me.
hate Zoom.
Yeah, I know, I'm fine.
absolutely
Luckily,
love
it's a quick drive for me, so it's either way, it's all fine.
Right.
All right, thank you. I think we're
Absolutely.
ready to adjourn and we'll see you guys in a few weeks.
Okay.
Stay warm. Bye-bye.
Everybody.